anxiety about the unknown.
I could hear the steps.
He had all
walking up
black
the
eyes.
stairs.
There was no
All of a sudden, this
in
huge
his eyes.
object with lights was on
And
top
it
of
made
us.
no sound.
The fear. Yes, this happened.
And I remember looking to my right and seeing this outline of a very large shadow that was darker than the pitch black that was in that area.
Hi, and thanks for joining us again on Yes, This Happened, the only podcast with true horror stories told by people who experienced them firsthand. Today we have Sandra's testimonial. She tells us what happened more than 40 years ago in the city of Chihuahua, Mexico, when her family had just moved into a new house.
In 1995, I decided to buy a house in Chihuahua, Mexico. And I remember we were very enthused. It was a lovely home, 2-story. And our 3 kids and both of us were really happy that we had bought that house. But what I did notice after we moved in, that I started to feel very uneasy about living in that house. I felt scared, and I didn't know what it was that was scaring me. My husband used to travel a lot, so one night that he was not in the house, I felt more fear than I had ever felt before. And I remember that I thought, oh my goodness, what is this all about? I had never felt like this ever in my life. Well, that evening, after everybody had fallen asleep, the house was really, really dark because it was really late at night. I decided to go downstairs. It was a 2-story house. And I decided to go downstairs for a glass of water. And as I came down the stairs to the first floor, I hit the first floor, and to the right, we had like a very small den area. And I remember everything was pitch black because there were no lights on. I had not left any lights on. And I remember looking to my right and seeing this outline of a very large shadow that was darker than the pitch black that was in that area. It was like looking at a shadow of Darth Vader. It was that big and that black and that scary. So I remember I felt this like chill going through my body, and then I decided at that moment that I was not gonna let that thing scare me. I decided that I was just gonna continue doing what I had to do. So I turned left into the kitchen. I turned on the light, and I got my glass and served myself some water. And I came out again, and I could still feel the presence of that shadow, and I could still make it out as I turned right to go back up to the second floor into my bedroom. I remember that I ran up the stairs, and I felt just absolutely horrified. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it wanted. I didn't know why it was there. So I just jumped into my bed and decided to try to fall asleep, which I eventually did.
But Sandra would soon find out that she wasn't the only one in her family that things happened to. Her youngest daughter had also witnessed this terrifying entity.
After a few months had gone by, my daughter, who was in the 3rd bedroom upstairs, she told me that she had also seen some kind of a very dark shadow going across her wall in front of her bed. She said it was darker than the black of the night because there was no light in her room either when she saw it. And so I was like really freaked out. I didn't know why that shadow kept appearing in our house.
As the weeks passed, things went from simple apparitions to paranormal physical manifestations.
For a very long time, one of my sons would also tell me that he was very much afraid of going into his sister's room because he felt there was something there, something that scared him too, some presence that he felt that might be inside the closet in that room. He just could not go in there, and it was very difficult for me to calm my kids down. My other son also stated that he had once seen this man inside my daughter's room, and he had gotten really scared. It was something that he had seen, like it lasted like for 2 seconds as he was walking by, and when he looked again, that person was gone. So there definitely was something in my daughter's room.
But her daughter's room was only one of the locations in the house where strange things happened. The terrifying phenomena was happening all over the house, with heavy objects seemingly moving by themselves at night.
About a month later, I remember we were all sleeping, and we started hearing that the chairs inside the little TV room, which was upstairs too, the chairs in the little TV room, we could hear them sliding. Somebody was sliding those chairs, and there was no carpet in that room. So anything that you slid across the floor, you could hear it very, very well. And right in the middle of the night, those chairs would start sliding all over the place. And one night, my daughter, she was about 8 or 9 back then, she told me that she had gotten up and looked into the little TV room, and that it was pitch black in there, and she did not see anybody. She didn't understand who was moving the chairs, why they were moving, what all the noise was about. And she was very scared. She was very scared when she told me that, because it was a very constant occurrence in our house. On another occasion, I was down on the first floor in the living room, dining room area, and I remember I was setting the table. We were going to have visitors over, and as I was setting down the plates and the forks and the cups, I felt like somebody was watching me. Somebody was behind me, and I started getting like goosebumps all over my body. And so I turned around, and what I saw that lasted about 2 seconds was the outline of a man with I could tell that he had long hair. I could not see a face, but it was like a transparent apparition, if you want to call it that. And I could see that the person had long hair, the man had long hair, and he was wearing like a long robe with some designs on the hem. And it was just like a flash, but it was very, very terrifying for me. And I saw that, and I looked back, and I kept setting the table, and I even started praying, because I knew that thing, that apparition was still there. I could feel it was still there, but I didn't want to see it. So I continued setting the table and praying, and little by little, I turned back again, and the thing was gone, the apparition, or the vision was gone, whatever. One of my sons would also tell me that something had happened, and I asked him, what's the matter? And he said, well, I was just in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I see this person, apparition, vision of a man that seemed like it was like maybe a monk who had long hair, and he was wearing a long tunic kind of vestment, and he had like a cord around his waist. And he said, I was so shocked, and I was pretty scared. But it was so fast. It was a 2-3 second thing. And I just decided to come up. I was going to stay downstairs a little bit, but I just decided to come up because it really scared me. He said, it really, really scared me.
Yes, this happened.
The sightings, the sounds, the apparitions, the physical manifestations just wouldn't stop, and Sandra was at her wit's end.
I also remember one afternoon, my daughter told me that she was lying down in our bed, in our master bedroom, and she was facing the wall, and on that wall we had silver foil wallpaper, and it faced the bathroom, our bathroom, which was open at that time, the bathroom door. And then she heard a click, and she saw the light from the bathroom reflecting on the foil wallpaper. And she said that she had such a fright because obviously somebody had turned on the light that was on top of the mirror, and it was, since the door was open from the bathroom, it reflected on the silver foil wallpaper that she was facing. And she jumped from the bed. She said she just jumped from the bed. She got so scared that somebody had turned on the light, and she ran out of the room. So that's when I thought, oh, wow, now I'm not the only one seeing things in this house. All my family was seeing things. All my family was hearing things. All my family was feeling things. All my family was scared. So it was quite an adventure that we had.
Sandra's new house came with more than they bargained for. For months now, they have been witnessing and listening to strange happenings in their home. Under the stress of this constant psychological harassment by the entity or entities in the house, even the family's social life starts to deteriorate. And they will soon find out why.
I used to have a lot of friends that would go and have dinner with me, a lot of girlfriends, and sometimes they'd go and have breakfast. But little by little, I started noticing that when I would invite them over, a few of them would make excuses and that they couldn't be there and that they couldn't go. And so sometimes I could tell that if I had invited 10 friends, only 3 would go, or if I invited 15, only 5 would go. And I was really getting worried because I didn't know what was happening. These were girls, women that I had known for years. They had been my friends, but it's like they kept making excuses. Finally, after a few times that this happened to me, after a few months, one of my girlfriends finally said that, she said, what's happening is that several of us noticed that we felt there was something really bad inside your house. We had this feeling that somebody was watching us all the time. We didn't know how to tell you because we didn't want to scare you. We didn't know if you were aware of what we were feeling at your house. And so we just decided that we didn't want to be in there anymore. So you can see that that's why we stopped going to your house. So what we did was that we eventually called a Catholic priest to come and do an exorcism. And that is exactly what happened. And that is what put this thing to rest. It never showed up again. And I was just very happy that we didn't have to live with its presence anymore.
Years later, when the family had already moved out, Sandra's eldest son found out, while talking with a friend in college, that in that house, the previous owner, the father of the family, had committed suicide in one of the rooms.
So many years after we sold the house, because we finally moved out, my oldest son, who had gone on to the university, met a young lady that knew the family that had lived in that house before we bought it. And she said that the husband of that family, the husband in that family, had committed suicide in the house. And so that's when we put two and two together, that perhaps that is why so many things had occurred. That is why we were so scared to live there. And that is why we just didn't know what had been going on for all these years.
Sandra's story is another one where different members of a family feel or see the presence of something paranormal. Do traumatic and harrowing events actually leave their mark on physical objects like a house? Sandra's testimony remains with us as proof of what could be paranormal events that transcended their dimension to meet us at ours. What do you think?